Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to visiting lecture today. For everyone who has entered the room, we're about to begin, so please have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Honorable Dr. Muhammad Azeem Khuroshi as a postdoctoral research from Karachi Institute of Economy and Technology from Pakistan, and a very warm welcome to the all participants and students from STEKOM University. Is it indeed a pleasure to have all of you on this memorable occasion today? And I would like to thank God for gathering us here in a visiting lecture program regarding human resource management. Before we begin, please allow me to read our agenda this afternoon. First, there will be start class presentation by Dr. Muhammad Azeem Khureshi. And finally, there will be a question and answer session after the presentation and continue with a brief for a photo session at the end. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, we will start for this event today, delivered by Dr. Muhammad Azeem. Yeah, for Dr. Azeem, the time is yours. Thank you.
Thanks, Novita, for having me at this platform. I would like to thank Professor Dr. Sara from UniMAP, Malaysia, as well as the organizers from University of Science and Computer Technology, the Industrial and Vocational Community Association, and Indonesian Smart Teacherpreneur Association, along with toplogger.com for organizing this session. And I'm honored to be here. So can I share my screen so we can proceed? Is the screen visible to all?
Yes.
Thank you. So today's lecture is about the evolution of human resource management and contemporary leadership practices in developing world. I am Dr. Muhammad Azeem Qureshi, Assistant Professor in the Department of Management and HR at Institute of Business Administration, Administration in Pakistan, Business Management in Pakistan. I'm also a postdoctoral research fellow at UniMAP. Before we proceed, let me discuss a little brief background of human resource management. The idea is the product of human relations movement back in early 20th century. The major work of Hawthorne studies conducted by Alton Mayer back in 1930s was the pioneer one, who explored the link between workplace productivity of employees with the satisfaction and well-being that they have. Other contemporaries like Abraham Maslow, who is very well known for his theory of hierarchy of need, in which he starts from the very basic needs to the self-actualization. The Kurt Lewin, very famously known for his change management theories, like three-step model of change, comprising of unfreeze, transition, and refreeze, and his force field analysis. Along with him, Max Weber, Frederick Hertzberg, David McClelland, and there were several others. These were the scholars who provided foundation for this discipline to prevail in future. As long as institutions are concerned, which provided a platform for this field of study that we call human resource management. The first, we have Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development that was founded in England back in 1931. And after transformation, that organization was titled as Institute of Industrial Welfare Workers in 1940s. And then in 1950s, it was called Institute of Labor Management. In the United States of America, which is, by the way, the birthplace of modern management, we see the first institution that solely dedicated to workplace studies was formed at Karachi University with the name of a School of Industrial and Labor Relations in 1945. So that was the first business school, you may call it. In 1948, American Society for Personnel Administration was formed, which was later named as Society for Human Resource Management, because there was a paradigm shift from the resource perspective to the capital perspective in terms of human resource management, because employees were being considered as assets of the organization rather than the cost. And we will later discuss this concept in detail. There are plethora of terms which are used interchangeably sometimes and sometimes independently for human resource management. Initially, it was called personnel management and manpower management. Then came the concept of human resource management, and that term was very much common and prevalent in 1980s and 1990s in United States of America and Britain. Then the term human capital management was introduced. Then it is also called talent management, people and culture, and more recently, this is a very common term nowadays, which is quite prevalent, that is people operations or people ops. Despite these names and different titles and evolution of theories and practices, there are certain, controversies with respect to the human resource management concept. Some people perceive it, some scholars perceive it in a very positive manner and describing it as a platform for human beings to develop and nurture as a professionals. On the other hand, some scholars have argued that this is the old wine in any bottle, and it is another tool for the exploitation of workers. But before we proceed to that line of argument, let's have a look at the discussion regarding the definitions of the term. Initially, it was described as the utilization of human resource to achieve organization objective. This is the point that attracts many scholars to argue that organizations utilize human as resources to achieve their own ends. Later on, we see that there is an evolution in the definition process as well. Then HRM was termed as something to gain competitive advantage by utilizing human capital in the organization to achieve your strategic goals. That is why more recently Armstrong has defined leadership as a coherent approach to the employment and development and well-being of the people working for the organization. So the point to be noted is here that from the resource perspective, the paradigm has been shifted towards the well-being and the development and investing ample resources in the development of the employees working for any organization. HRM has three subdomains. The first one is the micro human resource management that deals with the HR policies and practices. And most of the HR functions that include recruitment and selection, performance appraisal, training and development, succession planning, talent management, remuneration, so on and so forth. They are part of this micro human resource management umbrella. The second domain is the strategic human resource management. It is about formulation and execution of human resource policies and practices to enable organizations to achieve their strategic goals. So in a sense, it is very much aligned with the vision and the mission and the core values of the organization. It is about the larger picture, about the leadership development and long-term objectives of the organization. The third domain deals with the international human resource management, which is more concerned with the globalization, the prevalence of multinational corporations and global organizations having their footsteps across the globe. In every continent, their presence is there. And the main feature that makes them distinguished is the diversity of the workforce that they employ. People across the globe come and join those organizations having different racial and ethnic and cultural and religious background. So managing those diversified group of human beings is a very gigantic task and entails a lot of challenges. So international HRM is there to manage this diversified, multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious, multi-linguistic background people. Now here comes the controversy part. Some have argued that it is a new era of human and people-oriented employment management. On the other hand, some have argued that this is a blunt instrument to bully workers, to exploit them, to take best out of them to achieve their own ends. Some again have argued that it is the old wine in the new bottle. But the question is, why these views have found a place in the literature? What is wrong with the practices of human resource management? Then we have to look into the evolution, the historical perspective, the philosophical foundations of human resource management. It starts during the era of the first industrial revolution. Actually, people were working in their homes with their family members. For instance, a person has a flock of sheep. He used to extract wool out of that sheep and used to dye that wool and started manufacturing carpet out of that dyed wool. All the family members were involved in that process, and all of them were not necessarily having expertise in all these steps involved in manufacturing the carpet, for example. So there was less production and of lesser quality. So here came the idea of a factory. Big entrepreneurs, there were 4 models one should understand at that era. People were either entrepreneurs, so they had resources and they had skills. So utilizing their skills and resources, they used to produce goods or products. But that was obviously a limited quantity and they were not able to serve the masses. On the other hand, there was a model of partnership, other than the proprietorship model or entrepreneurship model. One has the finance but does not have skills. The other person has skills but does not have finance. So they work together in a partnership, sharing profit and loss. The third model was of apprentice model, in which, for example, I have a son or my younger brother or my nephew. I send him to one of my friends who has certain skill set and living in somewhere far away in any other city or country. My son, brother, nephew, he goes there and lives as a guest. And my friend equips him with the skills and knowledge that he has. And then he used to start his own work somewhere else. So that was the apprenticeship model. The fourth model was the slavery model in Europe. Most of the tasks that wage workers are performing nowadays, that used to be performed by the slaves. And the slaves were of 24 hours and for all the tasks. So they were bound to abide by all the instructions and orders that he receives from his master. And he was working for him for 24 hours a day. So in that background, large business tycoons established a factory where they gathered all those individuals working remotely in their own territories under one roof that they called factory. They introduced the concept of conveyor belt and they compartmentalized the work in a sense that only person having certain expertise was responsible to add value to set that certain step. For example, one has expertise in dyeing, will only dye, and then other value addition will be made by another person who is standing at the next stage of the conveyor belt, and he's going to add more value. So every value addition resulted in mass production, and then they encouraged mass consumption as well. So there was a revolution that is called the Industrial Revolution. But there was a problem. Uh, when they gathered all these diversified individuals under one roof, there was a question how to manage them, how to lead them. Uh, Human beings are so versatile. Each and every individual differs from others in terms of preferences and likeness and motivations, so on and so forth. So there was the problem at that time. How to treat them? What title should be given to them? More interestingly, the question was that either they are proprietor? No. Either they are partner? No. Should we be treating them as apprentice? No. So informally, they were treated like slaves. They had no rights, no proper wages, no medical leaves, and no specific timing. So there was a lot of exploitation at that time. So consequently, they revolted. But before the revolution that they carried out, we should understand why these business tycoons considered them as and treated them as slaves. I hope you all must have heard the name of Charles Darwin, who is very famously known for his theory of evolution, the biological evolution, claiming that people in this world are the result of a biological evolution that started from a unicellular organism, and then they developed into animals, and then apes, and then to human beings. There was a philosopher and scientist called Herbert Spencer. He borrowed that idea from Charles Darwin of biological evolution and incorporated that theory into a social context, proposing the theory of social evolution. His claim was that the evolution is not only a biological but also social. People have evolved socially as well. That is why we have different classes. We have elite class, we have middle class, and we have poor class. So just like the exploitation of less biologically evolved species is justified, for example, we use cattle and sheep and camels and elephants for different purposes. And we are justified to do so because we claim that we are evolved species as a human being. So we have right to exploit these as resources at our disposal. And we can have advantage of these resources. So Herbert Spencer argued that same is true for the social context. Those who are less socially evolved are subject to the exploitation by those who have evolved socially. So the elite class has right to exploit the middle class or the poor class to achieve their own ends. And that was very strange. But that idea was borrowed by many of the tycoons prevailing at that time, like Rothschilds and Rockefellers and different business tycoons. So that is why people were justified to be exploited and treated like slaves. So naturally, people did not accept that treatment and they revolted. And there were many episodes of revolts between 1874 to 1937. With different time intervals, they started having strikes and agitating against the tyranny of the business entrepreneurs and owners. That is why in their memories, we celebrate the International Workers' Day or Labor Day because they sacrificed their lives during that agitation, and eventually the governments were forced to accept them as a legitimate entity, and they passed the laws protecting some of their rights, and then some benefits were provided, health benefits, the structure of their medical and sick leaves, and so on and so forth. What is the modern approach? Some scholars have argued that to a larger extent, despite the fact that management practices have evolved and employees have more rights nowadays, And there are certain legislative and regulatory authorities who make sure that employees' rights are protected. But in most areas or most parts of the world, the story is not as it is projected. Many of the business tycoons, initially they used to chain their slaves. They used to put rope in their hands or in their neck to control them. They shifted the paradigm. So rather than chaining them or fastening them with the rope, they put a tie in their neck, not giving as much authority and freedom as they should have. That is why Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the very famous modern philosopher of 19th century. He claimed that there are two sort of people in this world. One are free and the others are slaves. And if you do not have 2/3 of a day for your own self, then he called that you are a slave, irrespective of the fact that whether you are a business person, you are a scholar, whatever you are. If 2/3 of the day is not for you, then you are not free actually. So it is a matter of the fact that modern day workplace has captured the cream, time, and energy of an individual. He or she has to work from 9 to 5 at least, and in most of the cases, if not all, human beings are being exploited to achieve the ends of big, large enterprises. This is one of the aspects that leads to the controversy. Back then, Immanuel Kant, a very famous philosopher, he deals with ethics and metaphysics. According to Kantian ethics, it is, he considers human beings as very respectable entity. According to him, human beings have dignity and honor, and it is extremely unethical to use other individuals to achieve one's own ends. However, it was long ago, without considering the complexities of modern day workplace. We have Peter Drucker, a modern day thinker, and he's also called the father of modern management, as well as the modern day Aristotle for business community. He was given title in an article. He claimed and argued that modern organizations have replaced communities. The role that community used to play is supposed to be played by the modern day organizations, because organizations have taken the crucial time of one's day and sometimes the entire life, entire working life. According to him, there are certain needs that must be fulfilled by the organizations. For example, self-determination theory postulates that there are certain innate needs that must be satisfied to motivate human beings, like need of autonomy, need of competence, need of relatedness. There are certain needs which were highlighted by Maslow in his hierarchy of need theory. Some of them dealing with the basic needs, the social needs, and then eventually self-actualization needs. So there are many theories describing that there are certain need of need fulfillment that must be there for employees to work effectively and efficiently. So, for example, need of competence, need of relatedness, and need of autonomy. Along with that, we have some social needs, some physical needs, some psychological needs. For physical needs, for example, I need to have a workplace which is comfortable with proper lighting condition and heating and air conditioning facility with proper remuneration that is sufficient to meet my ends, of daily life. On the other hand, I need some psychological needs. I have some psychological needs in a way that I deserve respect in my profession. I want to be treated respectfully, and my workplace should maintain my dignity and honor as a human being, and my profession should be respectable in my community. And then I am a human being after all, and after termites and ants, human beings are the most social species. So we need people to live with. We don't like living in isolation. So organization should provide, to fulfill my social need, an environment where I can interact with people, where I can share my thoughts, my ideas, my feelings, my issues. So Peter Drucker argued that modern day organization has played a significant role, and on the other hand, it has replaced the community. So all these needs must be fulfilled by the organization. However, he was given little attention. His philosophy was not accepted widely unless or until we encountered the global financial crisis back in 2006 and 2008. In that global financial crisis, big corporate empires like Enron, Tyco, Global Crossings, Lehman Brothers, and several others were subject to meltdown. Most of them ceased to exist, and some of them are there, but they have lost their entity that used to have. Why? Why these organizations who were being led by very, very highly competent and skilled and seasoned managers and leaders collapsed? So I would like to have input from your side as well. So can any of you give me an input? What was the reason behind these failures of these giant corporate empires? You can also write it down if you want, or you can use your mic to give your input. Yes, participants? Would you like to give your input? Novita, are you there? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Can you invite participants to either write down or say something in response to my question, that why do you think that large corporations in the United States and Britain, they collapsed during the financial crisis? However, they were being managed and led by very highly competent and experienced and serious managers and leaders. What do they think?
Oke, I will tell all of them. Oke, bagi para peserta, jika ingin menjawab bisa open mic atau menulis di kolom chat. Terima kasih.
If they are not comfortable in speaking, they can write in English if they wish.
Yes, for all participants, if you wanna ask question, you can open your mic or you can write in the room chat.
Okay, fine. Let me explain. When investigation was carried out, and when researchers and investigators probed, they found out that most of the decisions and the judgments made by those leaders were either serving their own self-interest or the interest of elite minority, while ignoring the collective interest of all the stakeholders and even society. So they were very professional, they were qualified, they were experienced, they had competencies and skills, but they were not good human beings. So modern management has produced highly skilled workforce and managers and leaders, but in most of the cases, they have failed to produce good human beings that could serve organization and society. So that is why human resource management is subject to criticism, that it is a tool to exploit human beings to achieve some individuals' own ends. Here comes the role of a leadership. What leadership is and what sort of leadership is required in the competitive edge in order to have a competitive edge over other rivalries? What sort of leadership is required to compete in this world? Who are the people who can address the challenges of modern day workplace? So, when you hear this word leader, who is a leader? What comes to your mind? Can audience give me their input? What do you think? What do you think who leaders are? Am I audible to all? Can you hear me? There is a typo error. It's what comes to your mind. Okay. Leadership is a very common word that you have been hearing in your political domain, in sports, in organization, in businesses. We find leaders around us. In schools, in colleges, in universities, we have different associations. So what comes to your mind when you hear this word leadership? Many people may think that a leader is one who leads from the front, the one who is top in hierarchy, for example, the one who inspires his followers, the one who sets an example, for example, he sets an example for others, the one who motivates. Okay, good. Okay, the one who mentors, who manages teams or entire organization as a mentor. Okay, good. Some may argue that a leader is one who works in team settings. Some may say the one who guides. Some may argue that the leader is one who gives direction. Some may say that he does the right thing and he gets the things done. And you may add a number of other actions that leaders perform into this list. I have mentioned just a few that may come to your mind. But interestingly, all these skills, all these actions have very little to do with what true leadership is. Leadership is like this iceberg. An iceberg has two parts. A very tiny part of it is heading above the surface of water, while the huge part of it lies beneath the surface of water. And this is the part, the huge part, that makes a ship sink, because ship strikes this huge part long before the tip. So tip is very tiny part of an iceberg, and the huge part of it is below the surface of water. So what is the relevance of this iceberg with the leadership concept? Here it is. What lies above the surface of water is the skills or doing part that we saw in the previous slide. They do the right thing, they inspire, they motivate, they get the things done, so on and so forth. So what true leadership is, that lies behind the surface of water or beneath the surface of water, it is the character or the being part. Skills are the doing part. Actually, we are captivated by how leaders, do their job, rather than who they really are, what sort of person they are, what are their values, what are their, beliefs. So Dr. Fred Keel wrote the book Written on Character, because one may argue that organizations are established to maximize their profits. So what do we have to do with the character of a leader if he is not able to impact the financial statements of the organization? If he is not able to generate business? So Dr. Fred Keel wrote this book. This book comprises of a longitudinal study. They collected data in different time intervals for a number of years from all sort of organizations. Organizations which were being led by highly character-driven leaders, and those who were being led by characterless leaders. Then they analyzed their performance and their financial progress. And after several years of research, they found out that organizations which were being led by character-driven leadership were thriving. The character of their leadership having an impact on their balance sheet, on their income statement. So it is not just a matter of personal behavior or personal integrity. It is also reflected on the financial performance of the organization. Why did they do so? Why this research was carried out? Because researchers were very worried about the collapse of the organizations during the global financial crisis, because they knew that their leaders were highly competent and capable. They had experience. So what were the real reasons behind those failures? So they found out that their character flaws and their compromise on morality was the reason. That was something the research community started looking for in their leaders. Before we proceed, let's have a look at the definitions. What a leader is, how we can define it. So you will find number of definitions in different books, written in different contexts. Different scholars have described leadership differently. But if we take the essence of leadership, if we find a common factor that we can find across the definitions, is the ability to influence others. Leadership is about influencing others. So a leader can be charismatic, cannot be. A leader can have a vision, cannot have a vision. A leader can be of good moral character, cannot be. So what is the bare minimum? What is the most essential element in a leadership that must be there in order to call a person leader? So it is a process of influence. If a leader is not able to influence others, then he or she cannot be called leader. So to be a leader, there must be a process of influencing a group of individuals. So Peter Northaus has defined leadership as a process. It means it is something that is in continuity, in which a leader influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Here, an important point to be noted is the common goal. It is a shared goal. So it means the goal is not the goal of a leader. It is something that is also shared by followers. So they all are heading towards the same direction. They have something in common to pursue. A leader and followers share something that they are looking for. And leadership is also called the art. It is an art of influencing human behavior. So why it has been called an art, we need to understand. So we have to look at the contrast, the other side, that is science. Why leadership is not science? Why it is an art? Science deals with universal and deterministic laws and theories, which have almost no exceptions. Scientific facts are there with exactitude, like in physics and astronomy and biology. For example, we have gravity. the law of gravity has no exception on earth. Irrespective whether we are in Indonesia, we are in Malaysia, we are in Pakistan or Europe or Antarctica, we are in water, we are on mountain, we have gravity. It has no exception. Same is true with the case of law of universal gravitation in the physics. What is art? Art deals with human skills and abilities. So to summarize, we can say that manufacturing a violin or any musical instrument involves science, while playing a violin deals with art, human skills and abilities. When we manufacture a violin, we have to take care of all the physical rules and laws, that what should be the gauge of the wire that we are using, what should be the gap, how much vibration should occur, and what frequency it will generate. All these are physical phenomena. While when it comes to play the instrument, it varies from person to person. So human beings are so versatile that each and every individual differs in terms of preferences, choices, likeness, dislikeness, so on and so forth. So we cannot put all the people in the same slot. We cannot motivate all the people in the same fashion, in the same way. Different people, behave differently. Different people have different background. So it is an art to lead these diversified, versatile individuals having different life preferences to achieve something in common. Because what motivates me today will or might not work tomorrow. Probably I need something else to get motivated, to get things done, to perform my job tasks in future. So leader is one who knows how to get best out of each individual. Who is the right person for the right job? So that is why leadership is an art. I hope I have made you understand so far. If you have any question, any query, if there is any difficulty in understanding my lecture, you can ask any question. I'm here to answer them. There is also an evolution of leadership styles that we have. Initially, we had a trait theory. Trait theory, and the next one is the behavioral theory. They were developed by Ohio State University and Michigan State University in the United States in 1960s. And trait theory was focused on certain traits. According to them, if any leader possesses traits like self-confidence and taking initiatives, sociability, masculinity, dominance, extroversion, so these traits make a person leader. On the other hand, the proponents of behavioral theory argued that leaders are those who demonstrate certain behaviors. So people showing or demonstrating certain behaviors will be called leaders. Then we have different approaches of leadership like autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, transactional, transformational. Autocratic leadership is about autocracy. By its name, it's very obvious, in which leaders have power in their own hands, and leaders they are the sole decision-making authority. They do not consult their followers or employees before making any decision. And subordinates are expected to obey the orders without any explanation. So these sort of leadership approaches work better when employees are new or untrained, and when employees do not respond to any other leadership style, when you need a very high volume production needed, when there is a very limited time for decision making. So in these sort of situations, autocratic leadership is an effective approach. However, it is not desirable. Then we have bureaucratic leadership style. Bureaucracy is all about leading by the book. So everything must be done in accordance with the predefined procedures and policies, and leaders are there to implement them. So if something is not covered in the book, then leader will refer to the authority above him or her. So we see that this sort of leadership is appropriate in certain disciplines like banking, where you have to record the transaction in any specific manner. You cannot be creative or innovative while recording your accounting transactions. Same goes with the using of dangerous or sophisticated equipments, like in nuclear power plant. You have to run the affair of the business by the book, by predefined rules and regulations. Same goes with the organizations like firefighting. So these sort of organizations are led by bureaucratic leadership style. Then we have democratic leadership style. It is in contrast with the autocratic leadership approach, in which leaders ask their followers to for input, and they consult their employees before they make any decision. And employees are on board. They are shared with the information, and employees have in this leadership approach enough room, capacity to develop their own goals, own life goals, and they have the ownership of the decisions that leaders are making because they were consulted and they were asked to give their input. Then we have transactional leadership style. Transactional leadership is a leadership which is based on a very short-term relationship, in which employees are expected or the followers are expected to execute tasks in exchange of specific rewards. This sort of approach is appropriate for the consultants or the experts hired from the outside the organization. For example, a factory wants to improve its efficiency, and they want to remove the defects in their products, and they hire a Sigma certified individual to implement the change initiatives. So that change will be driven by that change agent who is a Six Sigma certified individual. So the relationship is not of lifelong, it just limited to that certain execution of a strategy. Then we have transformational leadership. It is a sort of modern leadership approach in which leaders have, idealized influence. They become the strong role model for their followers that employee or people want to be identified with, and their expectations are very high with their followers. So they inspire their followers and motivate them to achieve goals beyond expectations. They intellectually stimulate their followers, and they encourage their followers to go beyond and above their own, favors and gains. They encourage their followers to work in the interest of a collective organization rather than for their own self-interest. And in doing so, they give consideration to all the employees individually. If some individual needs nurturing, they nurture them. If some individual needs development for the future assignments, they invest resources in their development. So it is quite a modern and holistic leadership approach that is effective in transforming individuals and organizations. And this leadership actually addresses the human resource management challenges that we discussed earlier. Then we have a laissez-faire leadership style. This is a hands-off leadership approach in which leader has little or no direction to give to his or her follower, because employees are very trustworthy, they are experienced, they are knowledgeable, they feel pride in the job well done. This sort of leadership is appropriate in very high-tech organizations which believe in innovation and creativity, and all the team members are highly competent and effective, and they have a pride in a job well done. So you do not need to give them input at every step. So you have to give them as much authority and power as possible. Then we have a charismatic leadership approach, which deals with the allure or magnetism or the attraction of the leader. So people are captivated by the magnetism of the personality of the leader, the charm that he or she has. And the leader uses his charm to influence his or her followers. So we see many charismatic leaders in world, like Mao Zedong in China, like Muhammad Ali Jinnah in Pakistan, like Nelson Mandela in South Africa. And there are many. Even I would call the ex-Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, to certain generation, he used to be a very charismatic personality, which is not the case now. Now, the intellectual community started looking to the moral and ethical content in leadership because of the failures and collapse of many business empires, because of lacking the authenticity, the character in their leadership practices. So all the leadership approaches that we have discussed so far, they are the seasoned and the old approaches of leadership. Now the focus is on the moral content. Whether the leaders that we have are genuine leaders, whether they are transparent, whether they have certain belief system which is based upon certain values and principles. Are leaders wearing masks, or they are actually who they are? Either they are self-serving or they are serving their followers. So authentic leadership is one of the character-driven leadership approaches that address this aspect. Then we have the ethical leadership. Then we have a servant leadership. These models are not only about the ethical content in the leadership practices, rather than it is not about being served, rather it is about serving others. So a servant leader is one who is there to serve others, and desire to lead comes later. He is the person who is driven by a moral compass. He is the one who has stewardship, who has empathetic listening, who has courage, and who has there to develop others. And he wants his followers to be leaders like him or her. So this evolutionary process continues to go on. We have several other leadership approaches working nowadays. Some of them are negative one, like we have abusive leaders, we have narcissistic leaders, and we have toxic leaders. These individuals are those who use intimidating tactics. They use threatening tactics to get things done. They exercise power, rather abuse of power, to get things done. They believe in the correctness of their own self. They think that they are correct and all the others are incorrect. So we also have these negative leadership approaches prevailing in our society. But the question is, why we have so much leadership approaches, so much leadership styles? Don't we have any leadership approach that is universal and that can work in each and every situation? Because this process still continues to go on. Different researchers are working on different leadership approaches, and they are coming and coming and coming. So why we are not saturated enough? Why don't we have any universal leadership approach that can be effective in every era and every time? Yes, participants, would you like to give me your input in this regard? I would love to hear you. You can use your mic or you can type something in response to this question that I have raised. Why we don't have any universal leadership style that can work in every situation? Would you like to say something, or I should proceed? Your input will be highly appreciated. Okay, fine. Actually, you know, every leadership emerges out of one's own life story. Different people have different background, different experiences in their life. They have different opportunities. So that life experience, the tragedies of their own life, help them to emerge as a leader. And due to diversity of the experience and the background and the knowledge that each and every individual has made impossible almost to come up with any leadership approach that is universal, that can work in each and every situation. And as long as human factor is there, as long as human beings are there, you cannot lead them or manage them with any specific approach. You will have to change your approach in accordance with the changing dynamics of the situation. However, your leadership approach, your leadership style must be aligned with your vision, with the values that you have in your culture, with the norms of the society. It must not be in contradiction with your cultural values and norms. So in East, I'm talking about the Asia, most of the leadership approaches which are effective are those which are very much close to religiosity, if I say, which are compatible with the teachings of their religion. And some of them are really authentic and ethical in servant leadership, because all the religions teachings deal with the authenticity and the character, or being a genuine individual, dealing other people in a way that you want to be dealt with, listening others as you want to be listened, and investing others, and go above and beyond your self-interest and look for the interest of entire society and well-being of the society. So this sort of approach must be effective in our cultural context. Now there is a debate among scholars. Are leaders born or they are made? And this debate has been there for many decades, many years. So some say that leaders are born and some say they are made. But in actually reality, there are very few people who are born as a leader. Most of them are born with certain leadership characteristics and traits, and rest of the others are developed. So leadership is something that can be learned and developed and acquired. That is why we are studying this subject. So this leadership is a matter of both nurture and nature. It cannot be either way. So whatever sort of leaders you are, you need to learn some lessons from a tea bag, some leadership lessons. It is very interesting and weird. We all have had tea made with a tea bag. So it is very interesting to notice that what sort of lessons we can learn from a tea bag, leadership lessons. Very interesting. So I hope these lessons are going to capture your attention and interest, and these lessons are going to help you to become a better person and better leader in your context. So let's have a look at the first lesson that we can learn from a tea bag, a leadership lesson. And first one is, what counts is what is inside a tea bag. You know, a tea bag has certain components. A tea bag has a label, a string, a thread, and a bag, and inside bag there is a tea. So what leadership lesson we can learn from this aspect of a tea bag? That is actually, we all are mesmerized and influenced by how leaders look like, what sort of cars they drive, what sort of brands they wear, what sort of universities they are graduated from, the title of their job, the organizations they work for. These things are just like the label or the string or the bag. What counts most is what is inside the tea bag, that is the tea itself. Even a very fancy label or a golden thread cannot provide you a good quality of tea if the quality of tea inside the bag is not good. Same goes for the leaders. Their cars, their attitudes, their organizations, their status, they are just like the string or the, the label or the bag. The real thing that counts most is what sort of person you are deep down. What are your values? What are your principles? What sort of person you are? How do you deal with people? The second one is, we are more concerned about the reputation, that how the people perceive us, rather than the character component, what sort of person we actually are. This we will able to develop reputation because of certain external factors, but how long it is going to last highly depends on the character that we have. Again, what sort of people we are. The second one is the real flavor of tea comes through only when tea bag gets into hot water. You will notice that even a lukewarm water cannot make a tea unless the water is hot. So the leadership lesson is that the true test of leadership is in adversity, is in crisis, when you are under fire, when situation is not good. Then in those circumstances, your true leadership emerges. Because, we all sugarcoat ourselves. In most of the cases, we do not show what we really are. So that catastrophic situation, that crisis, help us to unleash what we truly are. So real flavor comes through only when tea bag gets into hot water, and true leadership essence comes through only when you are in crisis, when you are under fire. Then a good tea bag looks forward to get into hot water. What leadership lesson is there? The leadership lesson is that good leaders, true leaders, they invite challenges to test themselves rather than avoiding them. They do not escape the challenges. They invite challenges, they welcome challenges so they could show to the world who they are. They unleash their true talent and their true potential to the world. Like a good tea bag that invites hot water to reveal its real taste. The fourth lesson that we can learn out of a tea bag, the leadership lesson, is that a tea bag must be porous. What if a tea bag is not able to allow hot water to come in and gets its essence out? You won't be able to make tea if tea bag is like that. Same goes for the leadership. In the context of leadership, most of the leaders are surrounded by certain barriers in the name of protocols. People have to take appointments to meet them. And it is very difficult to approach them. Most of the leaders are not among their people. They are out of reach. So how one can exert his or her influence on his or her followers if he is not approachable, if he or she is not accessible? So just like a tea bag must allow hot water to come in and take the essence out, a good leader must allow people to approach him. Have you heard the name of Sam Walton? Sam Walton was the founder of Walmart America, the biggest retail chain in the United States of America. He wrote a book named Made in America. He had a small plane in which he used to travel across the United States of America in different cities. And whenever he reaches any of his stores, he used to enter from the back door, where drivers and staff that was loading or unloading the trucks was sitting. And he used to bring donuts for them, and he used to have donuts with them, asking them their life issues and having conversation with them and giving them tips and helping them out. Despite the fact that he was the CEO of the biggest chain of the United States of America, their headquarters in Oklahoma, and the people that they have employed in only USA were more than the entire population of the state. So that sort of person he was. Even then, he was approachable. He was the first one who implemented the open door policy in his organization. So in their head offices, literally all the doors were open for all the people. So every manager, every leadership position holder was approachable to each and every employee of the organization. So great leaders, they are among their people. Look at the example of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. No one would be as much busy as he was, but nobody had to take appointment to meet him. He was accessible and approachable to all. So we are supposed to learn certain lessons. The fifth lesson that we can learn from a tea bag is that a tea bag works, never mind where it is in the cup. As long as a tea bag is in the hot water, it will make tea, whether it is at the bottom or in the middle or at the top of the water. It should be or it must be in the water, but its position does not matter. Same goes for the leaders. In modern day literature, leadership has nothing to do with the hierarchy or the position that one has in organization. Rather, nowadays, leadership is measured in terms of the impact that one makes in achieving organizational objectives. So greater is the impact, greater is the leadership that one is practicing. So it is possible that someone is not holding any hierarchical leadership position. For example, he or she is not CEO, but even then, he or she is exerting a significant impact in achieving organizational objectives. So he or she is playing a leadership role in that capacity. And in addition, I would also like to say that modern day literature also insists that every individual is a leader in his or her own capacity. Because if you are not leading a group of individuals, at least you are leading your own life. You have influence over your life. So you are leader in that capacity. So irrespective of the fact where you are, what your position is, you can demonstrate your leadership there. The sixth lesson that we can learn from a tea bag is sometimes one tea bag is not just enough. You have to add another tea bag to make the tea stronger. In leadership context, there is no harm in seeking help of others. No one is perfect and no one can do everything. You need people to get things done. You need team. So a leader, to be a leader, it is not necessary that you are able to do all the things all alone. You can't do. So you need to seek help of the others. And there is no harm in seeking help. Good leaders, great leaders, they perform, they demonstrate their best in the team setting. Then sometimes you need to add some sugar and milk in the tea to make tea sweet and light. What leadership lesson it can have at this point? You know, even being a leader, the knowledge that we have, the skills that we have today, the competencies that we have, they are not going to last forever. Either they are going to get rusted with the passage of time. So we need to sharpen them, we need to polish them, or sometimes we need to acquire some new skills, some new knowledge to be competitive in the society, in the organization, to be relevant in this world. And that is why we all are here. We want to improve, we want to change, We want to know something that we did not know before. So true leaders, great leaders, they are the good learners. They keep learning throughout their life. And they keep adding value by learning new things in their life. The next lesson, the second last one, is that someone else holds the string. The thread is in the hand of someone else. Means what? It means that despite the fact you are a leader, there will be certain board of directors, shareholders, and beyond that, there is some superior authority like God. So you are not indispensable. The power that you have today, you might lose tomorrow. So one should keep in mind. You know, Steve Jobs founded Apple Corporation, and he was fired. He was expelled from Apple in around 1984 because he was not the majority of the shareholder. John Sculley, that Steve Jobs appointed in Apple Corporation, he made an alliance with all the board of directors and they decided to fire him. So he was fired by those who he hired. And last one is that eventually a tea bag needs to make way and get out. We all have to either get retired or we have to leave organizations, and eventually we have to leave this world. So we have to see what legacy we are leaving behind. We have to see what impact we made in this world. How many lives did we change? We are, superior creature as human beings. We are blessed with many skills and abilities that most of the animals don't have, in particular intellectual capacity that we have. We utilize that intellect to create things, to invent things, to find solution to difficult and complex problems. We should be living our life at that level. And we should leave the world changed as compared to what we witnessed, what we experienced. We should leaving this world or organizations in a way that it is a better place for coming generation. It is better than what we experienced when we were young. Same goes for the organization. That when we leave the organization, it should be a better place to work than it was before as a leader. So one should ask, who will cry when I die? There is a book by Robin Sharma, very interesting book. Who will cry when you die? How many people you leave behind to cry for you? Stephen Richard Covey wrote a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, very famous book. And he gave an example that imagine that you are dead and your coffin is lying in the yard and people that knew you are coming to, condolences. Your friends, your colleagues, your followers, your neighbors. What sort of perception you want them to have at that stage, that point? What they should think about you? What sort of person you were? So if you want them to think positive about you, you should having a life like that now. If you want them to remember you in the memories in a good manner, then you should lead a good life now. So you should think, who will cry when you die? How many people you are leaving behind to care you were there? If they are in millions, it means you are successful. You have impacted their lives. You have helped them becoming a better human being, a better manager, a better leader, a better father, a better husband, so on and so forth. The fundamental question that every leader, every individual should ask that, who am I? And it is not about, just asking that, what are my strengths and weaknesses? It is beyond that. It is much more than that. Is it about asking, what is my goal? What is the center of my life? What my life is all about? Different people have different centers. And they are living their entire life revolving around that center. Some people are money centered. So every decision that they make in their life, even they make friends, they leave friends, they acquire a job, they leave a job, whatever they do because of money. Some people are family centered. The family that they have is the center of their life. So their entire life revolves around that center. Some people are possession centered. They need things to live their life. A car, a house, antiques, perfumes, luxury things, so on and so forth. Some people are profession centered. They are very much worried all the time about their profession. Even they are having the lunch or the dinner with their family and friends, or even if they are having bath, they are on their cell phones making business deals. They are there with their family having dinner, but they are not with them. They are connected with someone else, making professional, conversations. Some people are spouse-centered. Some people are self-centered. Their entire life revolves around their own life, their own center, their own being. But unfortunately, none of these centers, even a combination of many, cannot give us an effective and efficient life, a good life, a balanced life. Stephen Covey, in his book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, argues that your life should be principle centered, and those principles must be based upon certain set of values. For example, the life principle that I have is integrity and respect. On this principle of living a life with integrity and respect, I may have a value like not compromising respect, always giving and receiving respect, not doing anything that is against morality. So whenever I encounter any situation in which I have to choose between right and wrong, I must go for the right thing, because this is the principle or the value on which I'm living my life. This has become part and parcel of my life. So if my life is principle centered, my life will be a straight line rather than having ups and downs. We have our life is the product of certain emotions and feelings and impulses. And those impulses and feelings and emotions drive our life. We behave, we respond impulsively. For example, someone treats you disrespectfully. It is more likely, if you are not a principle-driven person, you will retaliate that person in the same fashion. You will also misbehave. But if your life is principle-driven and the principle is about giving and receiving respect, then you will think how I should behave. And eventually your principle will help you to behave in a good manner in reply of misbehavior. So if I ask this question, who am I? It means I want to know what drives my behavior. What do I do, whatever I do? So it means I want to know the purpose behind each action of mine. I make friends. I have breakup. I establish relationship. I break relationship. I have a job in certain organization. I leave certain organizations. Whatever I do, why do I do? What are the motives behind each action of mine. I give money, I receive money, I give charity. Why? Am I doing so for a noble purpose? Or even then I'm doing something good, or I'm giving charity for which I want to be known for. I want my popularity. I want people know that how, virtuous I am, how much charity I do. So one needs to examine the motives behind each action of him or hers. I should know what my deeply held beliefs are, what are my values, and what are the principles that govern my life. Most of us do not ask these questions. That is why we are unable to develop our personalities. That is why we have leaders who are quite exploitative in their organizations. We live in a social mirror, by the way. Most of the decisions that we have in our life and most of the things that we do is not because we want to do it, rather because others want us to do that. Most of us do not follow a certain profession because we were born for that profession. Rather, there are certain external factors that brought us here in that profession. Probably we perceive that there is huge money in that profession, so that is why we are in that profession. Most of us have to do things. We don't love to do those things. So if you have to get up early in the morning for certain work, it means that is not your passion. Because if that had been your passion, you would have loved to get up. You would not have to put an alarm. You would work entire day and you will be exhausted at the night, and you will be as enthusiastic to get up early to do that, to pursue your passion, to do your work, as you were one day earlier. So we need to identify what is wrong with us, what is wrong with our core. We do not, or we should not live a reactive life. If I ask this question, how many of you feel better when the weather outside is better? Most of us would say we feel better when the weather is good. If I ask a question, how many of you feel better when other people treat you better, with respect, with honor, with dignity? They give you importance. Most of us would answer that yes, we would love to be respected. But if this is the case, we are living a reactive life, actually, because proactive people who are principle driven, they carry their own weather with them. Irrespective how the world treat them, they know who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what sort of person they are. So they do not allow the people to determine their own worth. But if we fail to do so, we allow the world to decide who we are and what we should do. So we are not the owner of our decisions. Unfortunately, this is the case in most of the people around the world. Same goes for the leaders. So in doing so, we should have self-awareness, who we are. If we are self-aware, we know where we are heading and why, what is the vision, what is the mission of my life. Organizations are there with a vision. Every organization has a vision statement, a mission statement. But the people working for those organizations do not have a vision of their own life. They should have a vision. Vision provides us the purpose of our existence, the purpose of being. What do we want to achieve in our life? And that vision must be aligned with the vision of the organization we are working for, if not identical. Because if there is a clash between the vision of your life and the vision of the organization, you won't be able to perform in a way like Apple or IBM or Google or Microsoft perform. They have people who share something in common. They want to achieve something common. And that is why people are there in those organizations. So the leaders are. So if I'm self-aware, I know what motivates me. What is the thing that I enjoy, irrespective how I remunerated for that. I have motivation intrinsically. Even if I am not able to get certain reward, I will do it because this is the call of my heart. And when we do so, we do everything with excellence, not at mediocrity. If we want to attain excellence, we have to pursue our passion. And for that, we need to be self-aware. If I'm self-aware, I know what are my strongest areas and what are my weakest areas. And self-aware people know what they can do best. So they play with their strength. Because if we exhaust a lot of energy in converting our weaknesses into our strengths, then at least we can become mediocre and we will lose our strength simultaneously. So rather than converting the most weakest areas of our life into our strength, we should focus on our strength. And we should play with our strengths in our life. Change is an inevitable phenomenon in one's life. The only thing that is constant in life is change. And it is a very natural phenomenon, unavoidable phenomenon. Whether you like it or not, change must occur. So self-aware people roll with the change successfully. They do not panic when any change initiative is announced in organization. They are not worried about how they are going to tackle with the coming challenge because they know who they are and what their strengths are. And they know how to handle it because they are not impulse driven. They are not reactive to the external factors in a way that they are, in control of their decisions. And in doing so, you have to begin with the end in mind. It is about having a vision. One of the scholars had a friend who was a dentist. He used to make artificial teeth. And he used to make those teeth in a way that they were more beautiful than the natural ones. So the scholar asked him that how you are able to produce such a beautiful tooth or teeth that are more beautiful than the original one. So he replied that I have a very clear picture in my mind how this tooth or these teeth should look like on his face. So having that clear detail in my mind, I produce it. Just like a very nice piece of architecture or piece of art is in the mind of the artist or architect long before it is on the paper. So you should know where you are heading and why you are heading. One should have a vision of life. And that vision must be in line with the organizational vision, if not at least identical. What should be a vision like? I am sharing examples of the vision statement of some of the great leaders in the world. And you should have a look at the compatibility of the vision that they have and the vision of the organization that they formed. The Steve Jobs vision was to put a dent in the universe. He wanted to change the world. And he did so by, inventing first graphical user interface computer with the Apple brand name Macintosh. And the first iPhone, the first smartphone that paved the way for the rest of the world, how a mobile or cell phone should be like. So he wanted to create a dent in the universe. So the world is changed. Look at the Apple's vision statement. To make the best products on earth and to leave the world better, we found it. So they are going to change this world or creating a dent in the universe by making best products on earth to make this world a better place than what they had. Look at the example of the Walt Disney's vision statement, the founder of the Disney studio. His life vision was to make people happy. But how did he do so? To be the one of the best world's leading producers and providers of entertainment information. So he was making people happy by producing, entertainment information. So this is the compatibility. This is how things work. This is how we attain excellence. There are certain qualities of a good vision statement. A vision must be unchangeable. It's very interesting. It means a vision should be developed in a way that will never be changed. Why? Because particularly in the context of organizations, a vision is the purpose of being or the purpose of existence. And we have in accountancy a going concern concepts in generally accepted accounting principles. And that principle of going concern states that organizations are established for an infinite period of time. So in order to have an infinite existence, your vision must be unchangeable and unattainable as well. It should be timeless. It should not be constrained by 5 or 10 years. It will be lifelong. Because the day you achieve your vision, you cease to exist. At that day, you should close your company. You should wind it up. So you should have a purpose, particularly in organizational context, that will be everlasting, that could continuously give you energy and hope to go further ahead and go and go and go. For human being, even I would say it should be unchangeable and timeless. However, when we are immature, we may develop a vision that will be subject to change in future. When our consciousness improves, our knowledge improves, we get more mature, then obviously we can revise it. But it is not the case in the context of organization. The vision should serve the larger audience. The beneficiaries of the vision should not be your friends and families or your siblings or your office friends. You should serve the larger audience. Then it should be selfless. It should be above and beyond your own existence. I would like to share the example. An eye specialist may have the vision like this. My vision is to take care of your vision. Look how comprehensive and timeless and unchangeable and serving the larger audience it is. How selfless it is. Technology may reach to the sky, but this vision will not be subject to any change. This is the power of this vision statement. How to be self-aware? To develop a vision and to lead group of individuals in an ethical way, one should have a self-reflection. You should have a certain period of time, probably 15 minutes, more or less, at night. When you have nothing with you, not your cell phone, no magazine, no television, nothing. Just close your eyes and examine your 24 hours activities in a way that you are watching someone else. Detach yourself from your own self and just watch the film of the person having a 24 hours life. Examine why and what he is doing. What motives are governing or influencing his life? Ask why. Why did I do whatever I did? With the passage of time, you will be having a clear picture of what sort of person you are, and then you can decide what sort of person you should be. If you find something is wrong with you, you are not ethical driven person, you make certain mistakes in your life, then you can find ways of improving them. Some other methods are also there. Keep a journal of your thoughts. Write down whatever you do and compare your actions with your values that you have decided to live your life with. For example, one of your core values was truthfulness, but some days you told a lie. So then you have to match that where I'm wrong and try to improve it. You may have meditation, you may pray. That will help you to become a better person, because when you have a spiritual connection with the Almighty, you have purification of your soul and your existence. So different approaches work with different people. You have to see what is best for you. And I hope this session could have revealed some of the important insights in the context of human resource management and leadership, and probably I would be able to impart some knowledge that would be beneficial for you in future. Thank you very much for this session. I'm extremely thankful for the host, Novita, and team members, the universities who incorporated, facilitation of this session. Thank you very much. I'm here to answer any question if you have.
Okay, thank you for amazing presentation, Dr. Azeem. Yeah, for all audience, if you wanna asking question, you can raise your hand or you can write in the room chat. Okay, for first question, this is from Mr. Faiz, STEKOM University. Oh, yeah. If people who have a true leadership spirit are called leader, how do we respond to people who are bossy in the world of work? What is the difference between leadership and bossy? Thank you.
John C. Maxwell is one of the leadership gurus. In USA, he has his own institute where they develop leaders, future leaders. So organizations who have their succession planning acquire their services, and that institute provides coaching to future leaders. So John C. Maxwell has written more than 100 books, and he defined leadership in a way that leadership is not bossing around people. It is about inspiring people to achieve what people want to achieve, but could never achieve without your motivation and inspiration as a leader. So he negated the bossy view of leadership. So if you are working with someone who has certain bossy attitude, you should by yourself demonstrate what sort of person he should be. So when he will witness that you are demonstrating something that is extraordinary, that is very convincing, he will get the clue how he should be behaving. There is a social learning theory in management that postulates that people learn behavior of others by observing them and imitating them. So in that case, you should become the role model, and your attitude and your behavior should pave the way for him or her to examine what he should be like or she should be like. Or if they have a certain development programs in the organization, they invest resources and put them, to certain opportunities in certain leadership development programs where they come across what true leadership is.
Okay, thank you. And the second question from Mr. Shawaluddin Subekti. Yeah.
No, actually, no one can make you Beethoven or Mozart or any artist. Same goes for the leadership. It is the product of both nature and nurture. Most of us are born with certain skills or traits. Some of the things that we are born are genetics. We take from our parents, and that genetics influences our personalities. But we can change it. We can develop, we can acquire certain capabilities that we do not have now. So it is not the matter of just business schooling, or it is not just the matter of birth or the traits that you are born with. It is both the matter of nature and nurture.
Okay, and the third question from Miss Febriana. Yeah.
If you have seen the slides that I had shared, probably I have described the way. First of all, we all are supposed to know who we truly are. What is the true passion that we have? And in the light of that self-awareness, we should develop a life vision. And that vision will help us to develop a life that will give us energy, that will give us motivation. So first of all, we all should become self-aware. So we could know who we are, where we are heading, and where we should be heading and why.
Okay, thank you. And the last question from Mr. Adi Nugroho.
You know, Nelson Mandela, the first president of free South Africa, was not a handsome guy. You know, it is quite subjective. Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. You may be perceiving someone as attractive, but other people might not be having that perception. So true leaders actually, they believe in what they do, rather how they look like. The appearance or the physical attributes or the beauty, it is not going to last ever. It is a matter of a few years and then it will be gone. So rather than becoming an attractive person by your personality, you should become a good person as a human being. You know, you will find people around you who are very attractive, but they have a very black heart. Their core is very dark. They are not sort of people you would like to live your life with. So physical appearance, you know, has nothing to do with great leadership.
Okay, thank you for answering. I think it's very clearly answered from Dr. Azeem. Yeah, and we will go to the next session. Time for take a picture. Is it okay? For this session will be handled from Miss Faiz and Miss Febri. Thank you.
What? Okay, thank you, Miss Novita. Okay, for those who haven't activated camera, you can activate the camera first so we can take photos together. Oke, baik. Bagi Bapak Ibu yang belum mengaktifkan kameranya, silakan bisa diaktifkan terlebih dahulu kameranya. Ya.
Ya, dipersilahkan untuk Bapak Ibu yang belum mengaktifkan kameranya bisa diaktifkan terlebih dahulu agar kita bisa foto bersama.
Oke. Okay, let me count from 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. I will return the event to Miss Novita.
Finally, we come to the end of visiting lecture today. We would like to say thanks again for Dr. Muhammad Azeem Khurosi for their wonderful information. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We hope this information will be beneficial for our audience, and I hope we can meet again in another event in the future. Also, I would like to thanks for all participants for attending this class today and making this event more interesting. At last, we hope to have more collaboration in the future with Dr. Azeem. Yeah, the visiting lecture for today, and here we hope to see you soon for everyone. Yeah, for Dr. Azeem, if you will say something, is it okay?
I would just like to say thank you very much for the invitation, for arranging such an interesting session. And I would like to thank you all for having me at this stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day for Dr. Azeem and everyone.
Bye-bye.
Oke, thank you Mr. Azeem, dan untuk Bapak Ibu peserta, bagi yang belum absen, bisa absen terlebih dahulu sebelum kita akhiri acara di siang hari ini. Absen sudah tertera di kolom chat. Okay, I think that's enough for today's event. Thank you. Good afternoon. Have a good rest. Bye-bye.